If you didn't get the hint by the words Elite Special Forces, these guys are not to be messed with. From doing things like this and this, it's definitely the wrong time to be a bad guy. This Special Forces team out of Russia are known as the Spetsnaz, and they're some of the most terrifyingly effective elite soldiers in the world. From fly-kicking a car's windshield to breach a criminal's getaway vehicle, to rappelling into a high-rise window, they'll get to you when you least expect it. This core of Team Elite soldiers receive the very best in specialized training. From effective street fighting techniques to deadly weapons handling, the Spetsnaz are conditioned to be cool, calm, killing machines. If it's not clear from the calculated technical skills and insane demonstrations of brute strength, you really don't want to be in these guys' bad books. When you've got a rogue nuclear power as your northern neighbor, you have to make sure you're ready for anything at a moment's notice. It's the reason why South Korea's MUSAC Close Combat Training Program is taught to their SEAL team. Marines are run through close-quarter drills involving knives, auxiliary weapons, as well as sustained hand-to-hand combat. They're taught to strike at major organs and arteries, leaving their victims incapacitated within seconds. Combined with their aerobatic and impressive martial arts training, this is one brand of special forces you don't want to get up close and personal with. From the early morning starts to the hardcore drills, it's not uncommon for Special Forces recruits to feel like they're getting buried in their work. Well, for those hoping to make it on the South African Elite Fighting Force, they literally do. Trainees are forced to dig a shallow grave in the red African soil and then are slowly buried alive. Not only do they have to deal with the terrifying sensation of dirt piling up over their faces, making it hard to breathe, but instructors tease and taunt their victims.
What do you want on your grave, Baba? What do you want on your gravestone, yeah? Give me a few words.
To pass the test, they have to last 2 whole minutes buried alive. While some make it through, others crack under the claustrophobic pressure.
All right.
This counterterrorism team from France isn't afraid to do the unthinkable.
Shoot the hostage.
They just prefer not to. That's why their training centers around pinpoint accuracy and making sure each shot counts. They'll even do target practice while their colleague stands nervously in the line of fire. It's the ultimate workplace trust fall, but their training doesn't stop there. The GIGN, or the National Gendarmerie Intervention Group, is the first team called in to defuse a hostage situation. For that reason, they're drilled in tactical situations that involve breaching, clearing, and the completion of high-pressure extractions, whether they're helicoptered into a nearby riverway or parachuted in by air. The GIGN is fast, fearless, and ready to save the day. It's one of the most grueling training programs in the world, one which leaves many recruits throwing up from exhaustion. Welcome to the Philippines, where the Scout Ranger program, or 6 months of hell, is held to find the next batch of elite warriors. From marching through the sweltering heat to being force-fed mouthfuls of ground chili peppers, life is hard for a Scout Ranger recruit. They're subjugated to intense training drills and impossible situations that are designed to identify future leaders while weeding out the weak. As the training progresses, more specialized training comes into play, and recruits learn to rappel from buildings and helicopters. But the ultimate test comes in the marksmanship training. Armed with a loaded M16, recruits shoot targets held in the arms of their comrades. You need a good eye and a steady aim, or the only thing you'll be hearing is medic! A day in the life of the Taiwanese Armed Forces isn't for the faint-hearted. After being woken up before dawn to the sound of whistles and firecrackers, recruits run to the yard before being pelleted with ice-cold water. How's that for a rude awakening? Then it's time for advanced training, a regime that involves a 25-kilometer run, merciless fitness drills, and the never-ending yells of the instructors. When the sun comes up, these recruits are just getting started. From commando crawls across razor-sharp coral and 3-hour, full-kit drills through the mud, water, and rough terrain. By the afternoon, it's all tactics, where soldiers learn to survive a chemical gas attack. Then it's off to bed to do it all over again tomorrow. What a life! No, you're not looking at a circus training camp. This is the Pakistani SSG Commando Corps. Soldiers have milliseconds to react to various flaming obstacles. Everything from the cage of fire to the world's most twisted version of the floor is lava. Good news is, recruits that don't make the cut aren't sent home. They're fired. Thinking about setting up a criminal enterprise in the waterways of Portugal? These guys will make you think again. The Portuguese National Guard, or GNR, are the elite team protecting the southern European country from any threat that pops its head up. Their amphibious reconnaissance and ground assault team can appear from the water in complete silence, deploying behind enemy lines without raising suspicion. Well equipped and camouflaged beyond recognition, this is the last thing you see before the GNR takes you out. When it comes to ending long sieges, no one does it better than the Korean 707th Special Missions Group. This counterterrorism unit of the Korean Special Forces trains day and night in unique, challenging scenarios with a focus on breaching buildings and vehicles. Within seconds, this team can blast open a bus window and ram 3 soldiers inside to eliminate hostage takers. It's a calculated procedure, one that can have deadly consequences if things don't go according to plan. Likewise, rappelling in from the roof and blasting open a window is a team effort. But when you get it right, the results speak for themselves. China has its own branch of Special Forces soldiers, and their grueling training program is one of the most technical and demanding in the world. The soldiers in the PLA train relentlessly in a mixture of custom obstacle courses and simulated mission drills. They're taught building breach techniques, counter-terrorism tactics, as well as a range of lethal hand-to-hand and weapon combat training. Ever versatile, the PLA teaches its soldiers to be able to attack their enemy from anywhere. That means by land, by sea, or even by air. One thing's for certain, the Chinese military isn't messing around when it comes to protecting its own interests. It goes without saying, but just in case it's not obvious, this is definitely one you don't want to try at home. This crack team of elite crowd control officers are called the Nighthawk Brigade, and they've perfected their defense against an old-fashioned riot weapon, the Molotov cocktail. They spend their training sessions being hurtled with flammable bottles, learning how to respond and fight back when your boots and shield are on fire. They're even taught how to form the impenetrable phalanx formation, making sure protesters can't hurt officers with rocks or other projectiles. Put it this way, if you aren't protesting peacefully, these guys will make you. This elite team of special forces from Hong Kong are called the Flying Tigers, and they make breach and clear look like a walk in the park. Within seconds from rappelling down from a helicopter, the entire team gains access to a building and clears the simulated hostage situation with pinpoint accuracy. They're the best of the best of Hong Kong's counter-terrorist unit, and their ongoing training keeps them at the top of their game. North Korea is typically known for its secrecy, but when it comes to the full power of its military, the rogue state just loves showing off its arsenal. The Korean People's Army, or KPA, regularly puts on displays of their intimidating training regime, from aerobatic martial arts to brutal combat demonstrations. They make a point of showing off just how tough their soldiers are, with bone-breaking displays of body conditioning and strength training, much to the delight of the supreme leader. But speaking of fearlessness, that's exactly what these soldiers need to make it through this military course. It's called the Lancero, and it's a rigorous training regime designed to push Colombian soldiers to their limits. It has grueling obstacle courses, heights training, and ziplining into strong currents, all with the goal of preparing them for any kind of warfare. But if they want to make it through the course in one piece, they have to learn the importance of cooperation, because if they want to accomplish some of these objectives, they can't do it alone. Yeah, these soldiers aren't messing around if they're willing to go through this kind of training and conditioning. No thanks. I'll leave the jumping off the bridges to the professionals. And I don't know which professionals designed this training exercise, because it seems dangerous to put it lightly. These Chinese soldiers are tasked to play the world's most wild version of hot potato by handling a live grenade off to each other until this happens. I guess it's some sort of high-intensity training or something. They're lucky that none of them took a grenade to the chest. Yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm no Captain America. Get back! This elite special forces team from Vietnam doesn't need elevators or even stairs. With nothing more than some teammates and a tactical pole, these professionals can scale a 30-foot building in a matter of seconds. Rather than rappelling in from the roof or even breaching from the ground floor, the Vietnamese SWAT team can silently climb up into a third-story window and breach the upper levels. All this with no ropes, harness, or safety nets. Just when you thought you were safe, the military now has ninjas. The Royal Marines, on the other hand, have to bear a different kind of element: mud. This endurance test is designed for new recruits to test their mental and physical resilience. And since the whole thing is done in the mud, each movement they make requires everything they've got, but they have no choice but to keep going. In order to complete, they have to crawl, do sit-ups, and push and carry logs, all while having to endure the most excruciating pain their bodies ever felt. And you can't fall back or fall behind, because if you do, you and your entire team have to start all over. You have to be willing to do anything to finish, even if it means dragging your teammate to the end. Fancy yourself a sharpshooter? I bet your COD sniping skills have nothing on Germany's Special Forces Command, fearfully known as the Commandos Spezialkräfte, or KSK, specializing in speed and deadly accuracy. This elite team trains in custom-made firing ranges, utilizing VR and real-world targets to hone their skills. Soldiers have less than a second to analyze possible targets and neutralize them, making sure not to harm unarmed citizens in the crossfire, whether from a distance or close quarters. You have to be quick if you want to avoid becoming just another confirmed kill of the KSK. Most of us have a fear of drowning, but imagine you are drowning inside a helicopter?
Hello, how are you? I am under the water.
Well, lucky for us, we don't have to worry about that too much, but for the US Marines, that scenario isn't all that improbable. And this is where the Helo Dunker comes in, a machine that literally simulates an actual helicopter crash. Yeah, it's just all simulation, but that doesn't take away from the fact that drowning is still a very real possibility during the test. At any moment, one of these guys could make a mistake and lose consciousness underwater, so every second counts. They have to learn how to keep calm, how to control their breath, and more importantly, how to break the window and escape. Luckily, this Weatherman training has nothing to do with water or the weather. These exercises are full of intense and cutthroat drills intended to push recruits farther than ever before. And it'll get these guys to ask themselves whether or not they actually want to be there. It's full of relentless physical and mental drills like dragging a partner's body, bear crawling, rolling through the sand, and river crossing with a rope. All of this while being yelled at by their sergeant.
Smith, what are you doing just looking around?
And you better know the mission statement by heart, because they're going to ask you to say it out loud, word for word, while doing pull-ups.
To establish weather data networks while simultaneously
And if you mess it up, you and your entire team are going to be punished.
expertly employ.
Get on the pull-up bar and say the mission statement.
So yeah, it's pretty intense.